To start the second half of the animation, I'm going to import the Rocket PSD. Going to File Import or Command-I on the keyboard. I'll select the PSD in the folder, and at the bottom of the import window where it says Footage, I'll choose Composition Retain Layer Size, and I'll hit Open. You'll see in the project window that two files have come into the project window. One is defined by a composition icon, and the other is an open folder. I'm going to create a new composition. I hit Command-N, I'll go to Composition, New Composition. I want it to be 400 by 400. I'll leave the duration at 10 seconds for now, and I'll name it Rocket. I'll open up the folder, and I'll shift select the sequence of images, dragging them to the comp window or to the timeline. I want to rotate all of them, so I'll make sure they're all selected in the timeline, and I'll go to my rotation tool. I'll hit W on the keyboard, and you'll see that a little hooked arrow appears in the upper left-hand corner, and it's selected blue. I'll put my cursor inside them and point all the rockets towards the top. I'd like to scale all these collectively before I animate them. I'll hit S on the keyboard, and by scaling just one, the others will follow in suit. Now I want to sequence these the way we did with the drawing board. I'll shift select from top down in the timeline. I'll go to Animation, Keyframe Assistant, Sequence Layers, click OK. I can collapse the scale on this now to manage my timeline a little bit more efficiently. If they're all selected, I could hit T on the keyboard 3 times rapidly and it will close it out for me. Or you can open and close these manually if you choose. Now when I drag through, the rocket kind of moves off center in some of the pictures that we're using for this animation. I'm going to get my rulers. I can go to View, Show Rulers, or hit Command-R as if I'm in Photoshop. At frame 1, I'll drag a vertical timeline and put it at the tip of the rocket. And I'll drag a horizontal one down to the tip as well. Now I'll just go frame by frame, making sure that each one of those rockets lines up pretty close to that. Once I saved, I'm going to preview it. I'll put my playback at the end of the last frame, hit N on the keyboard, hit Home to rewind, and tap the space bar to play. Now the rocket is a 3-second sequence already, but it's going much too slow. I want the flexibility of either speeding it up or slowing it down. The next thing we're going to is to export it as a movie file with an alpha channel. The first thing I need to do is turn off the black background. I can do that in the composition view just to the left of the term Active Camera. You'll see a little checkerboard pattern that is reminiscent of the layer window in Photoshop. When I click on it, it hides the default black background. Next, I have to make sure that my work area does define just the animation. So I'll preview it again just to confirm that. Once I have that set, I'm going to go to Composition at the top of the user interface, and I'm going to go to Add to Render Queue. First thing I'll do is go to Output 2, and on the blue term Rocket, I'll click on it, and I'll name it appropriately. And then I'm going to go to Output Module and click on the blue term Lossless. And up at the top of the attribute window, I'll leave everything as is, but I'll change channels RGB to RGB plus alpha. Now I don't need the audio file, so at the bottom left-hand corner, I will turn off the audio, and I'll click OK, and click Render. Now I'll import the final.mov. Going to File Import, hitting Command-I, and I'll click on Open. Selecting the rocket.mov in the project window, I will drag the icon over the New Comp button, the red, green, blue Film tab at the bottom of the project window. With the rocket in its own timeline now, I'm going to do two things. First, I'll go to Composition, Composition Settings, And I'll set the duration for about 10 seconds. And I'll select the timeline and hit minus on the keyboard to see the entire thing. And the rocket we determined is going too slow. So I'm going to go to the project window, select the rocket, right click and choose Interpret Footage Main. At the very bottom I'll change the loop to 20. This becomes very subjective as far as the speed and timing goes. I'll now stretch out to introduce that new addition. To make it go faster, I'll right click on it in the timeline and choose Time Stretch. The smaller the number, the faster it will go. I'll just choose 50. And you'll see it's gotten shorter. But if I tap my space bar, you'll see it's going faster. I can always add more time to this by stretching out here. And I can change the speed, once again if I need to, going to time stretch.